Remember, little tiny babies, when they're born, they absolutely adore themselves. And they're totally open, and they're full of love. They express themselves freely. They ask for what they want. They love their bodies from the top of the toe to the top of their head to the tip of their toes, and every point in between, including their own feces, which they'll gladly rub all over their bodies, because nobody's taught them guilt and shame. They know how wonderful they are. And then somewhere along the line, we get this idea that we're not good enough. And we start putting our tape measures around our waistline to tell us if we're acceptable. Or we read magazines that say we have to be a certain height or a certain weight before we're acceptable. Or we listen to the media that says we have to use a certain deodorant before we're acceptable. You know, it just doesn't make sense. We are absolutely divine, magnificent expressions of life, all of us. And like when we were in the circle looking at each other, each face is another unique expression of God. And we're not supposed to be alike. Since time began on this planet, there have not been two snowflakes alike. And there's certainly not been two people alike. And we're always trying to be like everybody else so we're acceptable. Our uniqueness is what makes us wonderful. So we want to love that and cherish it and acknowledge it. You see, if we really believe in our uniqueness and the wonder of each being, then there is no competition and no comparison. There can't be. We're just different, and we're meant to be different, and that's wonderful. And that's another thing. Every time you think a thought or speak a word, there's a chemical messenger that's traveling throughout your body, depositing little bits of chemicals in all the cells. If our thoughts are fearful or angry or in any way negative, then the chemicals that these thoughts depress our immune systems. And if our thoughts are loving and optimistic and open, then the different chemicals that the messengers deposit enhance our immune system. So moment by moment, we are consciously or unconsciously choosing healthy thoughts or unhealthy thoughts. And these thoughts affect our bodies. And one thought by itself doesn't have a lot of influence over us. But we think on the average of 60,000 thoughts a day. And they accumulate. So poisonous thoughts poison our bodies. Science is now confirming that we cannot allow ourselves to indulge in negative thinking. It's making us sick and killing us. So the question is, what are your neuropeptides doing at this moment? How are they traveling throughout our body? You know, for a long time, I didn't understand the expression, we are all one, created equal. And it didn't make sense to me because I could see that there are rich and poor and beautiful and unattractive and brilliant and stupid in every color and every race and unlimited religions and ways of looking at life. There seemed to be so many differences between people. How could we say that they were all created equal? And finally, my understanding grew, and I learned what it meant. And I credit Carolyn Myers with this. How many people here are familiar with Carolyn? Oh, she's so wonderful. She is so fabulous. If you haven't read her, find her. Get a tape or something, because she'll really, if you want to be stretched to the next level. Okay. But you see, the thoughts we think and the words we speak all affect our bodies equally. The neuropeptides, the chemical messengers that travel throughout our body every time we think a thought or speak a word, affect us all the same. And a negative thought is as toxic to an American body as it is to a Chinese body or an Italian body. Anger is as toxic within a Christian person as a Jewish person or a Muslim person. Men, women, heterosexuals, homosexuals, the children, the elderly, all react equally to the neuropeptides created by their thinking processes. So the law of attraction is always operating. What we give out comes back to us, and what we believe we get. And whatever we think is responded to by the universe. And it doesn't get any more equal than that. See, forgiveness and love are healing to us all, no matter what country we're born in. And every person on this planet needs to heal their spirits before they can have a permanent healing in their bodies. We come here to learn the lessons of forgiveness and self-love. And no one, no matter where they live, will escape these lessons. So are we fighting our lessons, insisting on being self-righteous and bitter? Or are we willing to learn to forgive others and ourselves? Are you willing to love yourself and to move on into the richness and fullness of life? These are the lessons of life, and they affect us all equally. We are all one. We are all created equal, and love will heal us all. While we're talking about the body, I just want to share with you a shopper's guide to produce that I found in Dr. Andrew Weil's newsletter. The fruits and vegetables in this country that carry the heaviest toxic load, they have the most pesticides on them, are in this order: strawberries, bell peppers, spinach, cherries, peaches, Mexican-grown cantaloupe, celery, apples, apricots, green beans, cucumbers, and grapes from Chile. If you must eat these, try your best to get organic ones. If you can't get organic ones, do something else. We need to be informed and aware so that we know what we're putting into our thoughts, what we're putting into our body, what the beliefs that we're accepting. So we want to know for ourselves, I have healthy thoughts and a healthy body. That's a very good affirmation to say even once a day for yourself. I have healthy thoughts and a healthy body. Then I think we need to educate ourselves. You know, too often we complain that we don't know this or that and we don't know what to do. But we are bright and we're smart and we can learn. And there are books and classes and tapes everywhere. And if money's a consideration, we can always go to the library. Every one of us can learn. All we need to do is to find a subject that interests us. Then learning is easy. I didn't think I was smart until I found metaphysics in my early 40s. And then I had a subject that really meant something to me, and you couldn't stop me from learning. Because until then, I really thought I was stupid. I'd been told so, and, you know, I was a high school dropout, and who was I to say anything? But when you get the right subject, you can learn. See, most of the stuff they taught me in school, I couldn't relate to at all. But now I know that I'm going to be learning until my very last day. I remember when I first began to learn computers, and it was very intimidating, you know, but I learned. And I've been through several computers at this point, and I work with them a lot. And Hay House recently has now got a website. If you haven't visited our website, please do, hayhouse.com. And I think it's wonderful, you know. But I'm in cyberspace. See, for myself, I really want to know that I'm always learning and growing. I'm always learning and growing. Now, I think it's also very important for women that we must build a financial future for ourselves. Every woman has a right to have money of her own. This is an important belief for us to accept. Until we can accept this belief, we won't have it. But once we do, it'll come to us. It's part of our self-worth. And we can always start on a very small level. The important thing is that we keep saving. I like to suggest that people tithe to themselves. Take 10% right off the top and put it away. And this is not to be used for anything except very large purchases. Buying a home, starting a business. Otherwise, you let that build up. Tithing to yourself, I see as an act of self-love. And remember, you are part of God. Now, affirmations are very important to use when it comes to financial things too. Every day you want to say to yourself, I am constantly increasing my income. I prosper wherever I turn. I have been saying this for years, and it doesn't matter where your income starts. You are constantly increasing your income, and you prosper wherever you turn. Also want to fulfill your creative side. See, creativity can be anything that fulfills you. It could be anything from baking a pie to designing a building and whatever. But give yourself some time to express yourself. Because when we don't express ourselves creatively in a positive way, we often do it in a negative way. A negative way of expressing yourself creatively could be gossip, putting other people down, lying, doing things that are not fulfilling. And if you have children and time is short, then find somebody else with children so that you can alternate taking the children, so each of you gets at least 2 hours a week to do something creative for yourself. It'll do wonders for you. Gratitude. Make it a way of life. You know, I've learned that the universe loves gratitude. The more grateful you are, the more goodies you get. And when I say goodies, I don't mean just material things. I mean all the people and places and things and experiences that make life so wonderful. You know how great it is when your life is filled with love and joy and health and creativity, and you get the green lights and the parking places. And this is, I think, how our lives are meant to be lived. The universe is a generous, abundant giver, and it likes to be appreciated. And gratitude just brings more things to be grateful about. It increases your abundant life. And lack of gratitude or complaining brings little to rejoice about. I can almost see it shrinking a world. Complainers always find that they have little good in their life, and even when they do, they don't enjoy it. The universe always gives us what we believe we deserve. And many of us have been raised to look at what we do not have and to see only lack. We come from a belief in scarcity, and then we wonder why our lives are so empty. How many times have we heard this powerful affirmation, oh, there's never enough money? Can you imagine what that does to you every time you say it? It sends this message out to the universe, and the universe says, oh, that person never wants to have enough money. You know, when I awaken in the morning, the first thing I do before I even open my eyes is to start my gratitude thing. And I begin with my bed. I'm very, very grateful for the wonderful night's sleep I had, and it's cozy and comfortable. And thank you. And I'm grateful for my body and my mind and my home, and I just get started. And in about 10 minutes, I've probably been grateful for 80 or 100 different people, places, things, and experiences. It's a wonderful time to appreciate yourself. It's a great way to start the day. And in the evening, just before I go to sleep, I go over the day, blessing and being grateful for each experience. And I also forgive myself at that time if I feel that I've done or said something inappropriate or unkind, or made a decision that was not the best. And I also thank myself for giving myself such a great life. See, this exercise sort of fills me with warm fuzzies, and then I just drift off to sleep. It's a great way to end the day. We even want to be grateful for the lessons that we have. Don't run from lessons, because they're little packages of treasure that have been given to us. And as we learn from them, our lives change for the better. So I rejoice now whenever I see a dark portion of myself, because I know it means that I'm ready to let go of it and to open my life in another way. Yes, I say thank you for showing me this so I can heal and move on. So let's spend as many moments as we can every day saying thank you. Just be in a continuous state of thank you. Love yourself and be grateful and thankful. And forgive the past. And if you really do that, if you really get that, you really do it, you don't need to ever hear another thing. You don't need to learn another thing.
It's so simple. It's all right there. Okay, the other thing I think is important is to have integrity. Keep your word. You really want to do this. In order to honor and respect yourself, in order to honor and respect myself, I must have integrity. So we want to learn to keep our word. Don't make a promise that you will not keep, even to yourself. Don't say things like, oh, I'll diet tomorrow, unless you really mean that you're going to do it. Or I'll exercise every day. Don't say that unless you mean it. And then if you mean it, stick with your word. You want to be able to trust yourself. We want to develop a strong spiritual connection with life. And this connection may or may not have anything to do with the religion you were raised in. And as a child, remember, we had no choice. But now, as an adult, we can choose our own spiritual beliefs. Spirituality is your inner journey to the life force, to understand your life and place in it. See, in tribal group experiences, you have to really go along with the group experience. You can't learn much more than that. But when you meditate, when you go on a solitary spiritual journey, you can go a great distance. Solitude is one of the very special times in our life. And your relationship with your inner self is very important. So give yourself always quiet reflection time and connect with your inner guidance. My spiritual beliefs support me and help me be all that I can be. See, we want to take these ideas and reaffirm them until they're firmly in our consciousness and firmly a part of our life. Remember, the smallest positive change in your thinking can begin to unravel the biggest problem. See, I feel that every woman today is a pioneer. Early pioneer women blazed trails, they took risks, they dealt with loneliness and fear, they lived lives of poverty and hardship, and they helped to build their own shelters and forage for their own food. And even if they were married, their men were often away for long periods of time, and women had to fend for themselves and their children. And they had to find their own resources, and they laid the groundwork for building this country. But today's pioneer women are like you and me, and we have incredible opportunities to fulfill ourselves and to bring about equality between the sexes. We want to bloom where we are planted, here and now, and let's make our lives really worth living for, not worth dying for. See, from the level of emotional maturity, women are at their highest point in their evolution right now, in this lifetime. We are now the best we have ever been, and it is time for us to shape our own destiny. There are many possibilities beyond what we may presently think or experience. We have opportunities never before available to women. And it's time to join with other women, as we're doing today, to improve life for all women. And this will, in turn, improve life for men. When women are fulfilled and satisfied and happy, they will be wonderful partners, wonderful people to live with and to work with. And men will feel infinitely more comfortable with equals. We want to get to a point where we really bless and prosper each other. I want to encourage every woman to be the best that she can be. Not only I can, but you can and we can. See, if we discourage another person, then that discouragement will come back to us, and it limits our own growth. But as we give encouragement to others, then life in turn encourages us. Life is very forgiving. It just asks us to be forgiving too. Now remember, the option of finding the right man is only one alternative in a long list of possibilities. And if you're single, please Don't put your life on hold until you find the perfect partner, or you might wind up putting your life on hold your whole life. I'd also like to encourage us to be supportive and accepting of all women. It is time that we welcome our lesbian sisters into the fold. The way we have treated gays is appalling. It is tribal outcasting at its worst. They are as normal as we are in their own way. Remember, this is something we all need to learn. Sexuality is not a chosen lifestyle. It is something we are born with, and we know that God doesn't make mistakes. Came across something very interesting in Gail Shee's book, New Passages. How many people here have read New Passages? Oh, it's a wonderful book about mapping the path across time and how we are beginning to age differently. You know, the baby boomers are going to change everything we know about aging, and we're not going to do it the way our parents did. But she says in her book, she says, many older women who would never have thought of doing this in the past are now beginning to accept a gay lifestyle and turning to other women for intimate relationships. And with the scarcity of men in that age group, it makes perfect sense. I mean, why would we choose to be alone if love is waiting for us? And she also says that intimacy with another woman can reveal depths that women have never experienced before. Women in relationships can be more loving and caring than many men allow themselves to be. And also, other women are usually more forgiving and understanding of bodily changes that happen as we grow older. There's no question that I love men. Men are magnificent creatures, but women who strive to be like men lack ambition and originality. We don't want to be like someone else. We want to be the best of ourselves. I know that there's not a woman in this audience that has not been dishonored and disrespected or fondled or pinched or grabbed by some man when you did not want that. Abuse, sexual abuse of some sort. And for most of us, we have said nothing. We let it pass. We thought, oh, well, that's not so bad, or at least it's over, or whatever reaction we had to it. But there is a time now where we must stand up and speak up and stop this nonsense. I had an incident in my own home. I had a wonderful English couple that had been with me for some time. And it all started out very well. They took excellent care of me and my home and my animals, and I could travel and be on the road like this. They were with me for 4 years. And then slowly over a period of time, small little things began to happen. The things were so small that I didn't really pay attention to it. And I see now that that was a big mistake. And so he began to become lazy. And I found that his wife was doing like 2/3 of the work. And he began to forget that I was the employer and started to act as though the house was his. And all this crept up very slowly. You know how it is when you don't see something right away, and this little bit and this little bit and this little bit. And it developed into inappropriate behavior. And for whatever reason, I did not read the signals. And I did not put up appropriate boundaries. I was not honoring my feelings. And I found that I was beginning to walk on eggshells so that I wouldn't disturb him, so that I would keep him in a good mood. And then the day after my 70th birthday party, which was a wing-ding wonderful affair. You only get to be 70 once. And I learned that he had been groping and grabbing my women friends at my birthday party. And as I began to examine this, I discovered that this has been going on for over a year, but no one had told me. But once the veil was lifted, it's like information kept pouring out. And I discovered that he'd been hitting on several of my own employees, molesting some. My personal secretary in my own home had been attacked when I was out of town. And I was absolutely horrified. Louise Hay and her friends and employees, and no one had told me. Everyone was either frightened or embarrassed. And why didn't they tell me? But you know the answers, don't you? And I thought of all the times in my past when I had been approached inappropriately and I had kept silent, didn't want to make waves or didn't blow the whistle, just get it over with. So I understood. And then I discovered that he also abused his wife, and she often carried bruises. And I thought, look at the secrets we keep. We let men get away with violating our space and our honor. And it's fear that beats us into submission. My heart was so heavy, and I thought, oh, dear God, maybe this is only the tip of the iceberg. And I know there are a couple people here that were at my 70th birthday party that year, and I do apologize for any inappropriate behavior. So my home had not felt right for a while, but now I really had something to confront because he'd gone too far. See, why do we let it wait till we go too far, till we have to confront? So I gathered a support system, a support team, because there was no way I was going to approach this man by myself. And if I hadn't been so sure of my sources, I could have easily been taken in by his excellent performance of denial. Me? I would never do such a thing in my life. And when he realized I wasn't buying it, then he turned vicious and nasty. But not only did I have a support team with me, I also had a telephone in my hand, and I was thinking, 911, that's pretty easy to punch. And I told them that I wanted them out of the house and off the property by morning. My palms were sweating, I had a knot in my stomach, and I felt so powerful. I felt so powerful. It's not easy to stand up to a 6'5" big man who's very angry. And while I felt compassion for his wife, I also became very aware that she was an enabler. And the only way she could handle it was to be in total denial. And often this happens, they blame the other women. So while appearing innocent and injured, they were still out of the house and off the property in 3.5 hours. And my friend, who had been the first one to tell me and started this avalanche rolling, said to me, called me the next day, and she said, Louise, I can't believe this, but last night a thought went through my mind, and I said, could I have imagined it? Could I have made a mistake? Did I cost a man his job? See, we women have such a tendency to let things go. We believe their denial against our word and our own experience. But then, this is understandable because women have been controlled by fear for many, many centuries. And even though things are changing a lot here in the United States, they're not in many parts of the world. In Afghanistan recently, the government has reinstated stoning for adultery. And it is not stoning the man. It is stoning the woman. So I took appropriate action, and I cleared that, but I realized that within me there was a pattern that had attracted this. So I immediately went to a good therapist to clear the pattern in me that was continuing this. It was not to me like it was when I was a child and a young adult. but it was in my home. And I will do whatever it takes to clear this so that it never happens again. When you're not doing something you're supposed to be doing, life will catapult you into doing it. And I remember the therapist saying to me, he asked me about anger towards my abusive stepfather. And I said, I don't remember anger, I only remember fear. And she said, well, what about the times you sassed him back? And I thought, oh dear God, this woman has never been an abused child. I was beaten almost daily for being the best little girl I could be. What on earth would have happened if I'd have sassed him? But you see, when we're beaten into submission long enough, we lose hope, and we grow up into women who are afraid to speak up. And firing this man was the standing up to my stepfather that I had never been able to do as a child. I have a very thriving business, a publishing firm. I've created so much harmony at work. I remember an ex-union organizer came to me once and said, Louise, I have never seen a warehouse crew that's as happy as yours. And all the years I was fighting for union rights, I could never get it. So I had it at work, but I had a home. I'd allowed this disempowering, abusive situation to develop because I didn't read the signals and I didn't make waves. But now that I see it in hindsight, I see this as a blessing because now I will speak out for all women and to all women. If I don't, then how can I expect you to stand up and speak? See, we see men as authority figures and us as victims. And it's so prevalent in this area. We're taught to shift and carry the loads for men. This is how we're raised. And we've done it for so long that we think it's normal. And fear and embarrassment keeps us silent. We still think that maybe it's our fault. We must know that it is never our fault that this person has abused us. It is never our fault. We've had 25 years of women's lib, and still this sort of abuse is so prevalent. The home and the workplace. Many people think it's par for the course, and we must stop allowing ourselves to be abused. We must tell the truth. Tell the secrets, because opening up will stop the behavior. If men can't get away with it, they'll stop doing it. Don't collude with the men. It dishonors ourselves and it disempowers all women and weakens society. Abuse is always a power play. It controls us and it manipulates us. We want to create space for others to tell the truth. I think we need to teach women classes how to defend themselves mentally and physically, and to build up self-worth. See, I don't have all the answers at this moment, but I do have a big mouth. And I will speak up on this issue in public from now on. I encourage women to educate themselves, to put up boundaries, and know that we deserve boundaries. We must speak up, we must stand up. And if we do, we can heal this in one generation, and our daughters and our granddaughters will not have to suffer the things that we have. It is up to us to teach those around us how to treat us. As I said before, I have great compassion for men and the burdens they carry. But that does not mean that I will tolerate abuse any longer, and I will never remain silent on this issue again. Okay, we want to find our inner resources and our universal connection. We want to find and use that inner core within us. We are meant to explore new depths within ourselves and to make new choices. And women have been programmed to accept limited choices. You know, when you think of the number of married women that are extremely lonely because they feel they've lost their choices. They've given their power away. They do what I used to do. They look to their man and say, what do I do and what do I think? But in order to make the changes in our lives, we have to make the changes in our minds first. We change our thinking, and then the outer world responds to us differently. There's no limit to our creativity. We want to find the joy in our capabilities. And it's wonderful when our work can be fulfilling. You know, I always like to think that I bless and prosper others, and they in turn bless and prosper me. And to me, that's what business is, blessing and prospering each other. I encourage us all to have a strong philosophy of life, one that supports us in every way. And if you don't have a philosophy of life, create one. Create a list of rules or laws that you want to live your life by. These are mine. I am honored and respected by all. I am always safe and divinely protected. Everything I need to know is revealed to me, and everything I need comes to me in the perfect time-space sequence. Life is a joy and filled with love. I am loving and loved. I am vibrantly healthy. I prosper wherever I turn. I am willing to change and to grow, and all is well in my world. So create a set of personal laws for yourself. Create a safe universe for yourself, because the only power that could ever harm you or your body or your environment are your own thoughts and beliefs. And these thoughts and beliefs are changeable. This is all part of our soul's evolution. And I think this is the most exciting time to be alive. And I thank God every morning when I wake up that I have the privilege of being here and experiencing all. And I know my future is good, and so is yours. Now, I'd like to end with just a few affirmations for honoring ourselves. And if you'd like to close your eyes and absorb them, fine. If you want to keep your eyes open, that's fine too. Affirmations for honoring ourselves. I take my power back. I am a valued human being. I am always treated with respect. I am empowered. I am supportive of other women. I easily speak up for myself. I deserve to have boundaries. My boundaries are respected. I make waves whenever I need to. I have a good support team. I have integrity. The more open I am, the safer I am. My self-worth is very strong. I am a woman healing other women. I have a strong energy barrier. The men in my life honor women. I love and honor myself. Inside of you is a smart, powerful, dynamic, capable, self-confident, alive, alert, fabulous woman. Let her come out and play. The world is waiting for you. And so it is.